This week on the Southern Fried Philosophy podcast, we'll talk about Charlotte's affordable housing problem, a fajita thief gets 50 years, and sexting. All that and more on this episode of the Southern Fried Philosophy podcast. Here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Southern Fried Philosophy podcast, where two guys take on life, liberty, and the pursuit of gravy, and you, the listener, are getting a degree in common sense. We are broadcasting from the Busted Knuckles studio right here in beautiful downtown historic Concord, North Carolina. I'll be your host, Biggin, and how about you? We've got a great show lined up for you as always, but before we begin, let me introduce you to the second half of this flaky biscuit. That's right, I'm talking about the pride of Anderson, South Carolina, but most of you probably know him best as the Silver Tongue one, 2018's honorable mention pizza maker of the year, the inventor of the redneck egg roll. Give it up on old mic number 4. It's Mojo! Hey, Padre.
I didn't know if I was supposed to wait or not.
You can do whatever you want, man.
Anyway, thanks for joining us once again for the Southern Fried Philosophy podcast. You can reach us on Facebook at Southern Fried Philosophy. You can also go to our Twitters and Instagram at SFP Radio. You can also go to website at www.southernfriedphilosophy.com. You can also find us on YouTube at youtube.com/SFP Radio.
Mojo, I'm going to ask you like I ask you every week, how you be doing?
Buddy, what's got my biscuits burning this week?
What is it?
The Southerners are already complaining it's too hot. So, it was 82 out today.
Yes, sir. Yes,
and
sir.
I've already been seeing people posting about cooler weather already.
I tell you, probably like 2 weeks ago, I think there was like snow on the ground, or like it was
somewhere
pretty close to that.
Yeah.
And now it's 83, 84, whatever,
Yeah.
and we're complaining already.
Yeah, people just need to go outside and enjoy the sun.
I mean, it's a beautiful day out there.
No, it's gorgeous, man. I mean, I was outside all day, so I mean, it was great.
It's no shock to anyone that I am a proud member, not really proud, but I am a member of the Fat Five Fat fraternity, the fraternity of fat people. But during the summertime, hey, buddy, man, it's not good for fat people. We can only take off so much clothes.
Right.
But, I mean, in the winter, you could just pile it on.
Right.
And then people look at you like, oh, you must be warm all the time. Well,
right.
As a matter of fact, yes, I am. But in the summertime, good gracious, I just sweat all the time.
Right.
I hate it.
Well, at least at your house, you have all these gorgeous older oak trees, I guess, that help create some shade for your mansion-style house.
Right.
But, dude, trust me, the heat, I hate the heat, like the 110-degree heat with 100% humidity out there. But, geez, man, people already starting to complain. I mean, this is spring, baby.
Yeah, at some point, I'm pretty sure I'm going to just go move my office to the basement, which is like a crawl space, if you will.
A dark dungeon.
Damp dungeon. That's where I'm going to work to be cool for the summer. I hate the summer. Hate it.
Well, so are you a winter person then?
Oh, yeah. Like
really?
Once football season starts, I'm good. I'm good until the end of spring, and then...
well, I mean, I do like spring. Mm-hmm. That rebirth of creation. I do love that.
Yep.
I love seeing the greenery, especially after just so many gray, cloudy winter days and the leaves barren. So I do enjoy that.
Sure.
And except for that one good pollen dump week, here in the South where
it's been like a month, dude.
Well, no, you got to get it in stages. But after that first week, everybody's already had their sinus infection, so it kind of clears up a little bit. So,
nice.
But yeah, the summer though, it creeps into summer. Hopefully, we actually have a spring, because the South, you either have a winter and jump right into summer, or you'll actually have a transition. So hopefully, this transition lasts a little longer.
And maybe that's what we're worried about is like it's going to go straight into like 95.
You're playing with me, Mother Nature. Yep.
But I mean, we should be used to this, right? It goes spring and winter and spring, winter, and it went back and forth for a while.
Right.
So maybe it'll just kind of ease in.
I'm just hoping global warming holds off for a little while longer. So.
Well, in 120 years, we might see 1 inch of that shoreline dissipate. So
yeah, that's right. That's right. So how you be doing, buddy?
I'm good. The podcast question of the week was: has there been anything that you've ever bought on TV, like from an infomercial? Have you ever bought an infomercial thing?
I've never bought an infomercial thing, but I have. Remember back in the 80s when call 1-900.
Oh, careful.
Well, mine wasn't anything like that. Mine was 1-900 Freddy Krueger. and you get a secret invite to a Freddy Krueger Halloween party.
Oh,
so I did that.
Hey, buddy.
And didn't think anything of it. It was just a stupid recording that I listened to with my friends about 3 times. And later that month, my parents got a phone bill for $272.
Oh,
and back in like '88,
that was a lot.
It was like $400 probably. I mean, I would guess now, but that's the only time I've ever done anything like off the TV type thing. I mean, some of those nights before, I guess early 90s before our channel expansion, where you have thousands of channels now, you can just kind of watch and vegetate when you can't sleep. I have watched the old Home Shopping Network or the QVC just to kind of see what's going on, but I never bought anything, especially in their 3 easy installment payments. So I'm assuming you bought something.
Well, let me also introduce Anthony. He is with us. He's in the smoking hot Bad Mother Smokers seats. He decided he wanted to join us, so say
Come
hey.
hang out, yeah.
How we doing tonight?
Oh, look at that voice. Let's do it one more
Sultry.
How we doing tonight?
time. Man.
It's like velvet ice cream.
So I guess I just got booted out of the show and been replaced by Anthony. So Anthony, have you ever bought anything off of TV, like an infomercial thing?
I've recently just done this.
In the mic.
What'd
you get?
I got a Fitbit.
A Fitbit. Okay, but I mean Fitbit you get it at like Walmart, and that's normal.
But this one was for 6 easy payments of $46. I was like, I'm on that.
6 payments of $40? Yeah. How much are those things normally?
I don't know.
The newer ones are like
you gotta eat
300.
it.
The newer ones are like 400, 300.
Holy
wow. Okay.
cow.
Well, I guess that was a deal then.
All right, so I guess that is a deal. I listened to the Rick and Bubba show, who have really pushed this MyPillow that you see on TV. Have you ever seen the MyPillow?
Negative.
It's supposed to be the most comfortable pillow that you'll ever sleep on.
Doesn't the owner, though, doesn't he look like the dude
out.
From Addams Family, the dad?
Gomez?
Gomez.
He looks like Gomez.
He does look like Gomez.
Except in color.
You can't, that mustache can't be real.
Or his hair.
Or it's colored. Everything's got to be colored. Like, it can't be right.
He's probably a silver fox under that brown hair he has.
You probably.
Anyway, I digress.
I'm not going to think about that. But anyway, so I decided I'm going to try this MyPillow thing. There was a really good deal. Not 4 payments of $44, but you could buy 2, and you got 2 free travel pillows. So I was like, well, I'm going to give it a shot. I needed a new pillow anyway. And, man, I was all excited. I thought, this is going to be it. This is going to change my sleeping pattern. It's a pillow, guys. It's okay.
No, but it hasn't revolutionized your sleep.
It has not. In fact, it got me to the point where I'm like, well, now I just need a new mattress.
To match your pillow.
I tried the MyPillow. That didn't work. Let's just try a new mattress.
Well, I'm sure there's probably mymattress.com you can probably go to.
Well, they also push Casper mattress.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go the Casper route, though.
There's hundreds of thousands of those companies now. Have you noticed that? I mean, they're crazy.
And there's like Angela, and even one I saw when doing some research was called Avocado. Now, listen, if you name something that's not the name of something that's not that, then I don't get it. Avocado for a bed? What? I mean, y'all.
Is it like a scratch and sniff bed or something?
No, it does. And that has nothing to do with real avocados.
No guacamole included.
Actually, that'd be legit, right? What if you pulled it back and then you started eating some guac and then put the cover back on, have some guac in your bed?
Yeah, I guess Casper was probably the first one.
Yeah.
And then, man, there's so many now. You hear it on crawl across talk radio. Because I listen to a lot of podcasts and talk radio, so you hear a lot of that mattress promotion thing. But we did recently buy one for our daughter's bedroom. Not
the Casper?
No, not the high dollar one. We bought some janky one from Amazon.
Right.
And it was pretty cool coming out of the box, though.
Oh,
I got to cut the box and cut the air sealed pack, and then just watch it inflate. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But, I'm sure mine's probably made with straight formaldehyde and asbestos for the price I paid for it. So, but she needed a mattress.
So there you go. I mean, no other mattress could do that good as asbestos and.
Well, at least it's fire retardant.
Is it?
Well, asbestos.
So you can hide under.
But she may have mesothelioma later on.
Good news is there are commercials about people that have mesothelioma that they could.
Have you ever suffered or know a loved one?
Yeah, I have not, by the way.
I probably need to write that number down now.
But the pillows did the same thing, right? You open it up and just, it inflated, and that part was kind of cool.
Yeah, that was the best part of the pillow.
Well, listen, it's not horrible.
Right.
Like, I'll keep it, and I'll keep using it and whatnot.
But is it going to be your main pillow? Because everybody has a main pillow.
Yeah, it'll be the main pillow. And I will say those travel pillows are legit. If you're going to get something...
How many pillows do you sleep with?
Just one.
One. How many pillows how about you, Anthony?
One.
I got 3.
What?
Because I'm a side sleeper. So I gotta have one between my knees because my knees be bumping together. I gotta have one to hug to, so I don't turn over all my sleeping on my chest. So
do you have to sleep on your side?
My back. I've had so many accidents and stuff like that. My back is all jacked up, laying straight. Yeah. So, in fact, that was the worst part about being in the hospital, having to lay on your back. But I'm a side sleeper, so I have to have 3. And I've slept on my side for 40 years now, and for some reason, the last 5 I've had to have a side pillow. I don't get it.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
I don't know.
So I would snuggle up to my old lady, but she's like a heater. You end up sweating. So
I can't understand. Like in the movies, when you grow up, you think, oh, well, you're supposed to cuddle all night.
Yeah.
Nope. That lasts for about 5 minutes, and you're like, get off me.
Well, Anthony probably cuddles, but he has another kid.
That's why I don't cuddle. I don't want another kid. I want a 4-year streak.
Attaboy. So, I mean, try out My Pillow. Now, if they ever become a sponsor, we'll push them like crazy.
Phenomenal.
They're the greatest pillow ever.
Delete this episode.
No doubt. All right, so we are going to go into some wacky news.
Ooh, baby. Ooh, baby. It's making me crazy. It's making me crazy. Every time I look around. Every time I look around. It's in my face.
Who doesn't love fajitas?
I love fajitas. Anthony, do you like fajitas?
I enjoy them.
The only thing about fajitas, though, is they'll bring them out on that skillet that's hotter than Hades.
Oh yeah.
And you end up smelling like it
all day, every
day. Yeah, so that's the worst part. But dude, I remember when Chili's opened up in my hometown, they were like the fajita king in the world, and then all the Mexican restaurants started serving them. So, but anyway, I digress. I've been following the story now for a while. This is out of Texas. A man who stole $1.2 million in fajitas sentenced to 50 years in prison.
Holy cow! That's a lot of fajitas.
That's a lot of fajitas.
Holy fajitas!
A former Texas Juvenile Center employee who confessed to stealing $1.2 million in fajitas received a 50-year prison sentence last week. Officers last summer found fajitas in the fridge of Gilberto Escamilla, a then employee of the Cameron County Juvenile Justice Department, who later admitted to stealing and reselling the marinated meat over a course of several years. What tipped him off? Well, it started this way. A 800-pound fajita delivery sparked a confusion last summer when it arrived at the Juvenile Detention Center in San Benito, about 10 miles north of the Mexican border. That's because the center actually never served fajitas there. Escamilla, the employee who usually received the orders, had taken the day off. A trail of invoices and vouchers eventually led investigators to Escamilla totaling a theft of $51,000 worth of fajitas. So anyway,
holy cow!
So yeah, that kind of gives you a synopsis. But this guy basically started out small. This guy, because I've read a couple stories on this over the past couple months. This guy basically started by he ordered in like a sample size case for his personal use. Well, they found out that the invoicing or the accounts payable or receivable, whatever, department never caught it. So he ordered 2 cases, and then he ordered 3, and then found he could sell this stuff to restaurants and individuals, and so he started ordering more and more and more. So obviously his little scam pulled off for quite a while, except when it eventually caught up to him. So,
wow.
I love fajitas, but not that much.
So he's like the Walter White of fajita meat. Is that kind of what's going on?
Well, he was, and not as glorious as or romantic as a job as a meth, technician. But
I mean, if you get caught with a couple 100 pounds of fajitas, you're not going to jail that night for it. You get a couple of 100 pounds of meth. Hey, buddy.
Well, obviously, this cat got 50 years in prison. Talking about a
50 years.
This is where I have problems with the justice system sometimes because what the guy did wrong, was wrong.
Sure.
But this is a victimless crime. It wasn't I don't think how many people were assassinated. I don't think there was Sicaros coming up from Mexico taking hits out on people to get him, push his fajita business. So
people are just enjoying fajitas.
Yeah.
That's all that's going on.
But just think there's probably some child molester who just got a probation.
Probably.
But this guy got 50 years for fajitas.
Speaking of which, do you remember that story that we had a while back with the teachers protesting in Kentucky? And then the stupid governor, you remember he talked about how because the teachers are striking and the kids are home, he made a stupid comment that says, well, there probably was a kid that was molested now because the teachers weren't doing their job and they were protesting.
Well, statistically, that probably did happen, but that's a stupid asinine
don't
comment.
say that.
Well, Arizona, they're still protesting.
Are they really?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I heard Charlotte's getting ready to protest as well.
So ridiculous. I made my view pretty clear on that last time, but I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So,
well,
I think maybe I'm going to protest for more pay.
You should just protest to protest.
When I just protest myself, I guess. So.
Careful, this is a family show. You can't do that. Police shooting. Here's mine. Police shot a man entering a courthouse dressed as a ninja. Yeah. Give me some ninjas. Oh,
that's legit. Yeah.
Jinx, okay, we coke. 2 people were injured after an officer-involved shooting involved a man dressed as a ninja at an Iowa courthouse on Wednesday. A witness said around 10:30 a.m., a man dressed as a ninja tried to get inside the Scott County courthouse armed with some sort of blunt object. Quote, "We walked to the doors and we seen this guy coming from across the street." A witness said, quote, "This, I swear that he dressed as a ninja, all white, with a stick coming from his back that looked like a sword to me. All of a sudden, he just came running to the doors up behind us, and he says, 'Come on, G, come on out here. I'm going to get you.'"
Come on, G.
The fact that he says, "Come on, G," I think that, he's not going to do a whole lot of damage. Police said that 2 bailiffs quickly responded, and from there, the situation escalated, leading them to fire a gun and a less lethal device. He ran on foot, but they finally caught up and arrested him. So, that's crazy.
His ninja skills were not on point that day.
What do you say?
Oh, what's that?
What do you say about ninjering?
Don't be ninjering nobody that don't need to be ninjering. At least, you know what? At least he did not whip out the ninja stars.
You're right about that.
I mean, those throwing stars could be, pretty lethal.
And do we want to kind of guess what was in his back pocket that was sticking out like a sword?
It was probably a breadstick from Olive Garden. Those are delicious.
They used to be better.
Oh, no doubt.
You remember when they were like really good, and now they're just like, eh.
But like Dead Lobster with the Cheddar Bay biscuits used to be great.
Yeah.
Now they're okay, but
you can get them in stores now.
Can you really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Well, that'll
Sam's Club sells the deluxe pack or the deluxe box.
Really?
What does that mean?
It's just a big ass box. A battery, yeah. That's basically what it is.
Nice. All right, so we are going to transition to some just regular news. That was Wacky News brought to you by Webmerized. If you need a clean, crisp website, go check them out at webmerized.com. That's webmerized.com. Check them out on the sponsors section of our website. All right, so we'll go to some news. Here we go.
These are the days of America, brother to brother, hand in hand. These are the days of America, walking together through the promised land.
So this was a story that just a screenshot of a story that I posted on Facebook that said the Charlotte is on pace to solve the affordable housing problem, which is great news. However, it's going to take 1,200 years to get that resolved. Basically, the city has increased their money to help with the affordable housing in Charlotte. It went from like $15 million to now $50 million. But what they're saying is the rate of the need for affordable housing, it would take 1,200 years and $11 billion to actually meet the demand because Charlotte's growing so quickly. And gentrification, I think that's I get that one and gentrification confused.
Gentrification.
So gentrification. So I think that we could probably do a little bit better than that. So
well, my question is, what is affordable housing?
I think it's that's a great question.
And is it a problem that the government should step in and fill? Because anytime the government steps in anything, it makes it worse. Mm-hmm. Besides, this is wealth income redistribution at its minute point, because what are they doing? They're using tax dollars.
Mm-hmm.
As we know, the government makes nothing. I mean, so they're using our tax dollars to redistribute to people that can't afford housing. So my question is, what is affordable housing? At what point do we mark that? At what point do we say, okay, this is affordable, this is not? So I'm a free market guy,
right?
And I think what happens, and this has been documented recently in South Dakota, has been documented in Houston, because Houston is probably the fastest growing city in Houston and Dallas are the fastest two growing cities in Texas. Texas is probably the fastest growing state in America right now, and they're having the same issue where housing is just going nuts.
Yeah.
So how does the free market correct it? Well, when housing becomes so expensive where people just can't afford it, rates have to, hourly wages, salaries have to go up to compensate for that, because no one in their right mind is going to come to Charlotte and go, you know what, we're a banking center.
Sure.
We're emerging on tech now too. So no one is going to graduate from college or skip another job in another city and transfer here if they can't afford to live. Like when we first transferred here, my wife did, she had to ask for an extra 3.5% to compensate for state tax, but also a cost of living adjustment too.
Yeah.
Plus, whatever she had negotiated. But that's just a fact of the matter. Now, I understand what they're saying as far as, people that may be in government assisted housing, people that may be in just some type of rent situation where they're basically moving out, or gentrification does happen. I just don't know how the government can make it better. I mean, because basically what happens is you're paying for your mortgage, but you're also paying for the mortgage of other people that's quote unquote can't afford it. I mean, is that really fair? I don't think it is. I don't know where you stand on it, but honestly, I think the free market will correct it if they allowed it. But of course, to pander to voters, because there's a large pool of voters that probably fall into that quote unquote of people that need affordable housing are not going to. They're going to vote for someone who has quote unquote their back in check.
Yep. So some of the information from the article was saying that if you make 30% of the median income in that area, that's what qualifies you for getting affordable housing and some assistance. And that when they're building these new apartments and things like that, like I think 7% of the new stuff that's being built is given or set aside for affordable housing. So they would pay reduced rent and things like that, so that they can.
So it's basically rent control in New York.
Rent control, right? But the problem is what the article was saying was that it's generally for people that are having apartments that are renting, and the problem is that you don't get any equity out of just with an apartment, so it just kind of keeps that cycle over and over and over again.
Right.
What the article was saying is we should actually start investing in tiny homes, in tiny houses, and being able to do that, because one, the people will own it.
Sure.
One, two, they're a lot cheaper, which I would totally agree with, and they're kind of the hot thing now anyway. Right. So I think that it makes way more sense to deal with tiny homes than it does with just rent controlled apartments, because there's no equity that gets built into that.
But also, how's it fair? Number one, how's it fair to the person who has taken the gamble to take out a commercial loan or wrap up a group of capital investors to build this complex to make money?
Right.
And then all of a sudden they have to set aside 7% of that for people with reduced rent. So, but also in the second part of that is, how is it fair for the people who don't fall in that 7% and actually have to pay full price?
Yeah.
I just don't see the fairness in that. Anytime you try to level the playing ground to that ability. Try to give something to someone who may not have the necessary means or has gone out and taken the sacrifices that other people have, is basically redistribution, and that is a core foundation of communism. I mean, I just have a hard time plugging with that. Look, we pay dearly for where we live.
Sure.
Because we want a school district. I work twice as hard. My wife works hard. I mean, we've had to make side businesses to live where we are. I mean, to be in our school district. I mean, I wouldn't want anybody to come in and say, you know what, you don't have to do that. Just work a normal job. We'll help compensate. I feel bad about that. So I just have a hard problem taking from others and giving to other people without any due justification. I mean, is there a solution? Absolutely, but I think the free market will have a solution to that, to where it is something like, all right, we'll buy a plot of land, we'll build tiny houses, you can buy into that community, wham bam. I think but those are free market. The government, I just think they'll make it worse, and that's just my humble opinion. But
Anthony, any thoughts?
I mean, I agree with you.
Now you come from. Tell people where you come from.
I come from Newark, New Jersey.
So obviously, mortgages and rents are probably a little steep up there.
A little. You get a one bedroom for like $1,300.
Yeah.
And then you're living in the slums.
Yeah.
Really. So,
Wow.
I mean, I've always said if they're going to do something to that fact, there should be a deadline. Hey, you got 5 to 10 years to get yourself together. Schooling, whatever will help you with the schooling, and put you in that bracket where you can live on your own. You get what I'm saying? Instead of just living off the state. Because that's what a lot of people do. They get there, they get comfortable, and they just live off the state.
And also they produce a generational cycle, too, where their kids, their other family members figure it out. I mean, because trust me, I have my own personal family members who have figured out this system, and now they're in the second and third generations of this.
Yeah.
I mean, because, hell, why go work when you can just get a check?
Exactly.
So, I mean, Newark's got to be expensive. I mean, you can't even pump your own gas there.
So you don't want to pump your own gas there. You want to stay in the car.
That's true. When you have a 6 foot or 6 foot thick bulletproof glass, you got to try to slide your $20 bill through to pay for your gas.
Yeah, I do think that we've got to figure out a solution, whether free market or government, to help. But we've got to do something that will help. I want to level the playing field, but I want to do it in a way that's smart, that makes sense, that helps everybody involved. And I understand, like, redistribution of wealth. I get that. I shouldn't have to pay for school tax if I don't have kids. Like,
I agree with that.
You know,
I believe taxation is theft.
Yeah. So it's an issue, but the other part is I think people are people, right, and humans, and like my heart goes out to say, well, let's help, make that community better.
Right. Well, I mean, the federal income tax has only been around since 1913. There's been several times in history in America where we had zero federal tax. We raised capital money through tariffs. We also had a state tax or a sales tax. There's been, and we've went to war. We've built some of the greatest buildings in New York were ever built was before federal income tax. So this is just a new experiment for the last, I think we've been in a full federal tax now, which started in 1931, I believe, with the foundation of the Federal Reserve. So
did not know that. Yeah.
So I mean, we're less than 100 years into this. 1903 was the Federal Reserve. Sorry, but we haven't been doing this forever in the foundation of America. But it's never the government sector that helps grow anything. It is always a private sector. Look,
yeah, that's true.
I mean, hell, we can't even mail a letter. Here's a prime example. I have to send overnight packages a lot with my dealership, okay, so I can get funding for a motorcycle I sell. I sent something guaranteed by 10 a.m. with the USPS,
okay,
United States Postal Service.
Right.
Okay, I paid $41 to get it sent to Florida. Atlanta, which is only 4 hours away, by the 10 a.m. the next day. Now, they had almost a full 24 hours because I dropped off at 10 a.m. That same day, I couldn't catch the post office because they closed at 5. Well, FedEx is open until 6. I had to mail off another one to Florida. My FedEx package, which cost us about the same amount, ended up arriving at 8 a.m. in Florida. My USPS showed up 2 days later. Now, granted, I got my money back, but that's how anything with federal government works that way. You look with a VA, you look with anything. I have a hard time believing that the federal government can fix anything. All they can do is oppress the people that are actually producing and give it away to people that aren't. And I am a human, and what I meant with my federal tax thing is that hospitals were built with charity. You know, you'd have. For example, there's my hometown, there's a hospital where nuns started it. Now it's one of the biggest hospital systems in South Carolina because it started off charity. It didn't start off with government handouts and dollars and tax redistribution. So federal income tax has not always been around. So we have not always had that blanket to give to people, or as a safety net or as a social security blanket. We've never had that. Right. I just think that if you went down to a core basic tax, like we've talked, I believe I'm a libertarian, but I'm not one of these libertarian where I don't think you have to pay something, because we do use the roads, we do this, we do use services and things like that. But I want our tax to be so low to where that we don't just solely depend on the government. I think some of the highest rates of charity have happened when the federal taxes have been so low. I mean, you look at some of the greatest organizations that have actually popped up. Red Cross, Salvation Army. A lot of these things started back when the government wasn't there to help. So if you want true philanthropy to happen, I think you have to eliminate. Anyway, that's just in history and context. So
well, and going back to that, I think the church, as we've said before, the church needs to step up too, and help push those social programs, but help push the change that's going to happen, and the church is doing a really bad job of that.
Well, I think in some areas, I think I'd say a lot of areas they are, but you look at any time there's a major catastrophe, it's usually church organizations that step in. While FEMA's still scratching their heads on how to deliver toothpicks, church organizations are actually getting there helping clean up. Or prime example, Harvey and Irma, and also with Maria in Puerto Rico. I mean, you had church organizations, Billy Graham's, I can't remember his organization now. Whatever it is, they were
Samaritan's Purse.
Yeah, Samaritan's Purse. They had boots on the ground, within a day or so.
Yeah.
And while FEMA is still going, hey, I think there's a storm out there. I think I think private industry and private groups do a lot better job at figuring out problems that we need that ail us in social situations like this.
Well, we look at Amtrak, right? Like Amtrak just is the government, and boy, we keep throwing those off the rails.
They almost killed senators a couple months ago when they derailed. So but once again, I'm not trying to sound like the government's horrible at everything. I just think that they're horrible at 95% of the things that they do. So
here's a twist, though. If we're saying privatization pushes things to grow and makes things better, here's the twist: American prisons.
Well, back in the 70s, we only had, I think, 300,000 or 400,000 people incarcerated in this whole country. Now we have 3.5 million or something like that. We lead the world in prisons. There's countries out there like China. Of course, I'm sure we can't get accurate stats from China, but China, has less of a prison population than we do.
Yeah,
prison economy is huge.
Yeah, it's insane.
It is, and I look, if it was me, everyone has ever been arrested for a victimless crime, such as
fajitas.
Well, fajitas is a prime example.
Ninja suits.
That's right. Fajitas, ninja suits. Decriminalization of marijuana. How many people would be released with that?
Yeah.
That would free so many people. And at the expense of, I think the average cost per now for a prisoner per year is $56,000.
Wow.
That's a lot of money, and what that is, it is an economy now.
Yeah.
Just like healthcare is 1/6% of the economy in this nation right now. After Obamacare took place, prison industry is huge.
Yeah.
And not only is it huge as far as the tax incentives that these prisons get, and bringing jobs to communities. I drove through Pennsylvania. There's several big, I don't know if they're supermax, but there's several big max prisons there. West Virginia. There's a community in the middle of nowhere. I'm talking about, you may see some sheep, goats, and a couple of guys out there with 2 teeth, but they have a prison economy. The prison's there, and that whole town, there's a Dollar General, there's a prison. And that's their whole economy.
Yeah.
But besides that, there's and I'll call it, I'll probably take some flack, but the slave industry. There's slave industry of these guys producing products for big corporations.
You're exactly right.
I think Amazon now leads in some of the products that they actually sell under Amazon Basic brand is now produced by some prisons.
Wow.
Like socks and undergarments and things like that for their lines are now produced out of prisons. Mm-hmm. And they pay these guys 17 cents a day or something like that, which if you're in prison, do your time. But this is just one thing I think that just it sickens me about how we figure that the government can solve everything. This is one thing they solve. They have people now locked up for having a quarter bag in their car, and they got arrested. Now they're making socks for Amazon. And, it's sickening. It's sickening to me. So,
were you going to say something?
Going through that system personally. How much is your average pack of ramen noodles?
Last time I bought it was like 29 cents.
29 cents, 25 cents. They're like $2, $3 in there for us.
Holy cow.
Yeah. Little starfish cookies that you buy at the corner store, 50 cents.
Yeah.
$3, $4, $5.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's big money going through there, and we're just cattle. Going through that system, being through it personally, just cattle, slapping up on them, putting to work.
Wow.
And it's not an ideal environment.
Right.
They herd us together in one spot here. Whoever makes it out, makes it out. Long as you're for work tomorrow. And it's real sickening. And I agree with you. I mean, it's just big business. It's all they see is now. Is the government and privatized, like Bob Barker. He's like the guru of it.
Right.
Wait, the guy that did Price is Right?
Yes, sir.
The price is wrong, Bob.
For what?
Yeah, he supplies most of that stuff in there. The soaps, the toothbrushes. And,
Bob Barker?
Yes, sir.
From The Price is Right?
Yes, sir.
He's a sweet old man.
Unless you're paying $5 for a box of ramen.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Oh no.
So, I mean,
so he retired from The Price is Right, gave it to Drew Carey, and now he's sending things to prison. That is awful.
Look, I think it's
my eyes have been opened like none other right now. I am never watching The Price is Right. The Price is wrong, Bob. That's why they're so high. Is it the Bob Barker? You're doing some research.
yeah,
over
actually,
there.
it's a different Bob Barker. But
It's not the Bob Barker.
no, I don't think it is.
Humanity is saved now, I feel like.
Now you can watch it again. Actually, he's based out of Apex, North Carolina, which is right in the research triangle.
Let's go talk to him. Do you think we can get him on the show?
Yeah, let's do it. Man, they supply everything, dude. Evidently, they supply a lot of stuff.
Okay, so it's not the Bob Barker, just to be clear, because we could get sued for slander probably at some point.
Yeah, maybe.
So it's not the Bob Barker.
Correction is not The Price is Right, Bob Barker.
Bob Barker.
It's a Bob Barker.
A Bob Barker.
Okay, all right.
There we go.
Okay. All is right in the world.
Well, that's how we become internet famous. We'll start.
Everybody's doing it.
Bob Barker dropped the soap in prison. There you go.
There you go.
All right. So, the thing is, though, but like you said, it's a machine now that has started and rolled, and almost kind of like our defense. Like, you're not going to stop it. Like,
the only the prison system would be easier to correct. And I think you'd have a lot better long-term results with that, starting with that industry versus starting with the military.
Sure, totally agree with that.
Because if you didn't convict, just take for example marijuana for criminalization of that. If you decriminalize that, no jail time, whatever. I mean, you empty out a lot of jails. Number one for that. You'd also stop the changing behavior of people that go in there into the system. I mean, so Anthony, this breaks. I'm gonna have to ask you because I didn't know you'd been in the system. So, how long were you in the system for?
Through my early 20s. I got out when I was 23.
Right. So, I mean, did it change you from the kid that you were to when you came out at 23? I mean, how did you? I mean, obviously your perspective on life had to be a little bit different, I would say.
Well, my perspective on life at that point in time was kind of chaotic because my mother had passed when I was 15. So I was just a product of the street. So when I went in with that street thug mentality, but when I got in there, I was like, this isn't for me. I mean, I could have dealt with it, but I was like, I don't want to deal with this. This isn't where I want to be.
It's not the goal for your life.
Exactly.
But how many? I mean,
believe it or not, there's a lot of people in there that have the same mentality as me. They're just afraid to show it.
Right.
You know.
But the recidivity rate is high, and it's usually these stupid little things, with marijuana, or somebody starts with marijuana, then they get back out. Well, they don't know how to adjust, and then all of a sudden they're into shoplifting, and then that's 2 strikes, and then they get out and they do something other stupid, and all of a sudden it's 3 strikes and they're a lifer. I mean, it's just it's a revolving door for the system.
Well, what makes it harder for a lot of us, why we three-peat, so I call it, is because when we get out with that blemish on our record, you cannot get a job.
Yeah.
It's virtually almost impossible
Sure.
if you don't have a lifeline or two to help you find your way through it. And you got to be,
That's right.
strong enough.
Luckily, they're starting to do some expunging now of records, which is helping that, because I believe in second chances. Because I've had a lot of ex-felons, ex-cons that have worked for me. My partner's one now. I mean, it's just, that shouldn't define your life.
Right.
A stupid mistake or whatever, especially if it's a non-violent or a victimless crime. Especially a victimless, non-violent crime. I think it shouldn't tarnish your record forever. Well,
I was still thinking about the fajita guy. He gets out.
I'm
like,
telling
I can't
you,
get a job.
that guy strictly did it for money. I doubt anyone died in the making of that delicious fajita platter. I mean, I really doubt that. So, but the keeping on this thread of the prison industry, it's bad news. It is.
Oh yeah.
I just don't see the benefit of locking up simple crime people, and because people. And I was part of that problem too, where people are like, well, if they're in there, yeah, let them rot. Or, make sure they ain't got underwear. Or, make sure they ain't got mattresses to sleep on. They're doing time, do the crime, do the time. I mean, I was part of that.
Right.
But then you start realizing that, especially after going to jail a couple times myself, you realize that, hey, I mean, it don't take much to end up in jail at all. And I've ended up in jail a couple times, and it's for stupid stuff.
Yeah.
But there's people that you see, like I met a guy one night. He was waiting, being transferred from one facility to the next. And he'd been in jail in and out all of his life since he was 14.
Wow.
This guy was like 50.
Wow.
So it started with something simple. And, from the not having correct parenting to being, growing up on the street to all of a sudden it becomes his life. These guys have no chance. And then once they get into the system for something stupid, like Anthony says, I mean, it's hard to get a job. It's hard to, I'm sure it takes some adjustment coming out, living that life for so many years where you wake up on a schedule, you can't ever sleep correctly because they have the lights on all the time. I mean, all these little things that we take for granted, like being able to go to our own comfortable bed, we can adjust the lights as much as we want.
Using My
Pillow. But we take these things for granted. I mean, I think it's just affecting it's making the problem worse. But also, they're taking majority of the prison population is male. Majority of the prison population is also black male or Hispanic male. Now, there's some whites in there too, so don't let me get accused of pandering to that.
Send your emails to Mojo.
That's right. You're taking potential fathers out of the communities.
Yep.
And also a lot of times these guys get out, make a baby, and then they get locked back up for a probation violation or something else, and then all of a sudden you're taking these fathers out of communities.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, I mean, but my question though is, because it's a big business now, how are you going to get rid of that? Because now it's a moneymaker. Now people are making profits.
Sure.
It's
well. I mean, there's always.
Barker.
Well, I mean, we're always so scared to make a change because of what it means, okay, or how it could impact. I mean, Toys R Us just went out of business,
right?
Okay. How does that affect? It affects the day-to-day jobs of those people that work for Toys R Us. I don't know how many people it was, but obviously Toys R Us never adapted to the new economy. Okay,
right.
I guarantee those people probably could have gone down to the Amazon fulfillment center and got a job there too. Now they wouldn't be doing the same job that they were doing, but they'd be working in a different facility.
Yeah,
people complain the same way they did about when cars first came out. I mean, honestly, blacksmiths, wagon makers, wagon wheel makers. The people who grew hemp for the rope for harnesses and things, they complained that this technology was going to take their jobs.
Yeah.
Well, did we go to a 50% unemployment then? No, we adapted and created new industries. New industry will always come to be. Just like if Amazon and Walmart.com take over the whole world, there will be other industries that pop up. There will be other needs for specialty. No one's going to be there's never going to be an 80% unemployment. We just have to
Sure.
adapt to that new economy.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like you were saying, like marijuana, right? That's not going to get passed to make it legal so that they're not getting locked up, because people are going in there over and over again,
Yeah.
and that's creating more money and more revenue for those people that are investing in that.
Sure.
And those powerful people are the ones that are persuading and pushing those, legislators and senators to make those rules that won't allow that to happen.
I think if you take marijuana single as one issue, I think once they eliminate, and states are starting to recognize this, because these states will make more money off of taxes if they legalize it. Like Colorado had such a windfall, they actually issued tax refunds to the residents of the state because they sold marijuana.
Yeah, but you've got people that are traveling to Colorado to buy that so that they
Sure.
can experience that. So, but if everybody's doing it, then you won't have such an influx as well.
You may not raise $60 billion, but you may raise $40 billion because it's no longer a reefer tourist industry.
Right.
But if all 50 states were legalized, you'd still have a great portion. Number one, you'd have a great portion of tax refund money. Now, I'm not saying tax the hell out of it because I don't believe that, but you'll have tax revenue that can be used for social services, whatever that people deem necessary. You also not eliminate, but you vastly decrease the black market and crime that comes with that too.
Yeah.
I mean, you no longer have the likes of El Chapo and these guys on our southern border trying to, drone in kilos and kilos and pounds of weed.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden the price in the black market drops. So anyway,
You're gonna say something?
I agree with that. And also with that, and it's kind of wacky. I was talking to somebody about this, and he was, you could tell he used to be a hippie. And he said to me, he goes, they need to just legalize drugs across the board. And I looked at him kind of funny, like, what do you mean? And he says, think about it. If they legalize it, they can tax it and they can control it. He said that stops a lot of the cartels and everything. He says, with that, you can build your rehab home or rehabs for them. You can control that. That's taxable. He says, so it'd be all inflation, for the government to get more money.
all right.
And it would really cut down on a lot of crime and the justice system being able to put everybody in jail with, the little things, like
Right.
you were saying, with a dime bag, that's not even a necessity,
Right.
What's he going to go do? Go destroy his refrigerator? That's about it.
Right. It's just even if we look, I know you challenged me to read this social justice book.
Right.
Okay. Even if you look at these antiquated laws that we have in, a lot of these laws were placed in due to racist beliefs, especially marijuana.
Yeah.
I mean, it's actually called cannabis, but we named it marijuana to sound more Mexican-y because it scared more people. I mean,
Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. The government actually spent money to make a movie called Reefer Madness. The taxpayers funded a movie called Reefer Madness to scare the hell out of people about
call it
cannabis.
like taquitos or something like that.
Reefer Madness? I never heard of
Yeah,
this.
1931 they came out with a movie called Reefer Madness. It's on Netflix. It basically, and also I know this is way off subject, but anyway, Hearst Industries, the news corporation, Script and Hearst, or the two largest newspapers in the country. Actually, government paid them to actually write articles expressing how white women would smoke weed, and then all of a sudden they'd be gang raped by black men. And and I know that's not probably great to say on our podcast, but that's just a blunt truth.
Yeah. Good gracious.
Blunt, no pun intended.
I see what you did there.
I'm just saying that there's no foundation for this law. I mean, alcohol is a taxable, consumable product.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
Sure.
But alcohol is going to do a lot more damage and has done more damage to lives than marijuana or cannabis will ever do.
Right.
So it's just such a money, like you said, go back to your point, it's such a money maker now for this government. Look at the war on drugs. How many
Totally agree.
how many tax dollars demilitarized military equipment goes to local localities every year?
Yep.
Okay, you got that part. Then you got the funding after they wrap it up. The prison system. I mean, it is just a huge economy. But if we took marijuana off the table, I think you'd probably decrease the criminal population of a jail by 25%.
And I think at some point that we will see that. maybe in our lifetime.
I think we're close.
But it's going to be interesting to see how we replace, because I don't necessarily know that the prison system is going to go down quietly, trying to keep their people in there. So what are they going to do then next if they're not going to do marijuana?
Right. If you look in Europe, there's several countries in Europe that are actually closing prisons.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
I'd be all about that.
And of course, they have such a lackadaisical, laissez-faire approach to prison systems anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, you murder someone, you do your time. You're not going to be a lifer. You're not, unless you kill multiple people, but
right.
You actually have a chance to redeem yourself and become an integral part of society again.
Right.
Here we don't have that. Now, I'm not saying I'm for murder. I'm just saying that you actually have a chance to
for murder.
Well, murder and then no consequences. I mean,
Gotcha.
You actually have a chance to repair yourself and become an actual productive citizen of society again. And I just don't know.
Yeah. So I mean, we could talk about this thing for forever, but we promise that we talk about other things. So let's go to the Boy Scouts of America. They recently have just dropped the boy part of it. Right.
Yeah. Announced today, Boy Scouts are dropping the word "boy" from the flagship program. Girl Scouts are shrugging. This comes from the USA Today. Boy Scouts of America doubled down Wednesday on its quest to become a scouting organization of choice for boys and girls, announcing it will drop "boy" from the name of its signature program. But the decision didn't impress the Girl Scout organization, which noted no new girl-specific programming. Girl Scouts is the premier leadership development organization for girls. Sylvia Acevedo, CEO of Girl Scouts USA, said in a statement, "We are and will always remain the first choice for girls and parents. Both groups, which have been at odds since the Boy Scouts decided to open its doors to girls, have been struggling with declining memberships." That's what it's all about, the declining membership.
The only thing I'm really caring about is if there's a merger between the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts, is that going to affect my cookie sales?
You'll probably have the tandem of popcorn and
oh no,
whoever came up with the idea of popcorn.
That's
Boy
the
Scout.
worst thing ever.
I'm not paying $8 for a microwavable bucket of popcorn. I'm sorry.
No, get something else, Boy Scouts.
I will pay $8 for some delicious vittles of cookies, man.
There you go.
We already talked about that one.
Yep. No, but I mean, I think you're right. It goes back to participation, membership, dollars, chase the money. But it is interesting, and we'll talk about, being guys.
Well,
it is interesting that the guys fall, but the girls will still stay the same.
Now, I admire the Girl Scouts organization. I appreciate their stance on that. In California, the Boy Scouts are actually facing a lawsuit because under their politically correct law system in California, you're basically excluding. They had a stance on excluding gay Scout leaders, but also any person that maybe identifies as a boy would be excluded, even though they may not be biological. So California was threatening to take away their tax exempt status. I think this is probably that was just one chink in the armor as far as them chipping away at it, but. Jesus could not come sooner. I'm just going to say that. I think, man, we are.
Is that one of the signs of the apocalypse? Be like, well, the Boy Scouts are now Scouts. We're one step closer.
I would love for someone to try to argue what is so bad about having boys in their own scouting organization and then having girls in their own scouting organization.
I don't get
it. The Girl Scouts, they no longer have the days of. Let's bake a cookie badge and let's knit a parka badge and things like that. Basically, the Girl Scout badges are the same. They have the campfire. All these badges are basically the same as the Boy Scouts. Development of young boys. It's okay for the boys to hang out and be boys together. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Just like girls. Girls have the right to do that. I mean, how are they going to? How are they going to socially adapt when they become older? Because, you look at Sunday brunch, there's a lot of chicks that go to brunch together. I mean, it's okay. It's okay for the separate, the sexes to be separate, and have their own deal and gig. It's just, I think the Boy Scouts have just extremely lost their way. And I'm not exactly sure if it's just pandering or they're trying to be a part be ahead of this culture shift that we've been seeing. I just don't understand the whole purpose of it.
Yeah. No, I'm completely with you. I think that, again, we talked about the emasculization of the man in America and the world, and I think this is just one step closer to that, where they decide to take guys and their inherent giftedness and wirings and then try to make it into something else that it's not. So,
and it's amazing how, the radical feminist, leftist, liberal pundits who basically have to chime in every time there's something like this. I am surprised they are not supporting the Girl Scouts right now. You haven't seen any of them chime in about that.
Yeah.
I mean, this is an organization that teaches feminism in its purest form, and as a child, and respecting their feminine gifts that God has given them. But you haven't seen anybody chime in about that.
Yeah.
They're saluting the Boy Scouts for being all this whole inclusive thing. So anyway, I think, once again, I think it's garbage. But
you didn't know you were signed up for this coming into this show, did you, Anthony?
I'm intrigued.
All right, so our next topic we're going to talk about is sexting. So if you guys, if you're not aware of what it is, just and also too, if you have little kids, go ahead and turn that radio dial down a little bit. But basically, we'll keep it as PG as we can.
Sure.
But like having discussions, adult conversations with another. I was going to say the other gender, but who knows now?
yeah, it can be whatever.
But it's having those conversations via text message.
Right.
And so there's an issue going out now that's dealing with kids.
I'll give you an example here. I was talking to
not detailed example.
I was talking to a mother the other day, and a mother, her son is actually facing a felony charge right now, and potential future sex offender registration. All this was over her son was 16. The son's girlfriend, 16 at the time. Now she sent a nude picture to him. Long story short, he's being charged now with possession of child pornography.
Wow.
The young lady is being charged with a lesser crime of disseminating child pornography.
Huh.
So what? Yeah. So the charge now for possession of child pornography is now, it's a felony, potential juvie hall time. But also he'll have to register as a sex offender for the rest of his life.
Wow.
So look at the implications of that. He'll have to announce to a community before he comes, and if he can ever hold a job, he'll have to announce that. If he ever closes into or tries to rent an apartment, he'll have to register as a sex offender in that apartment. He'll have to not live X amount of feet away from us or close to a school, to daycare. Right. There's strong implications. Where did we go off the rack? What? I mean, I know how we went off the rack. It was probably some, and I'm that dad too. Well, I won't. If anyone sex my daughter, and if she sex back or whatever, I'm not going to the cops. I'm going to that kid or that parent and talking to them. And probably, I may end up in with a felony, but it was probably some mom who all she does is watches soaps all day, waiting for her kids to come home, probably made a big stink about this. And then a bunch of moms like this do this, and all of a sudden there's laws being changed. So what are your thoughts on this? I personally don't think we should ruin a child's life by branding them as a sex offender just because of this. Now, I'm not saying I agree that they should be doing this. Correct. If I catch my daughter doing this, there'll be hell to pay. But I'm just saying that we should not penalize these kids to this extent. Yeah.
No, not at all. If they were actually having real relations, I mean, they wouldn't have those, he wouldn't be labeled as a...
Would that be considered rape? I mean,
it would be. It would be.
It's statutory,
yeah.
Well, actually, so I don't know. Every state's different, but,
generally, if you found that, you would just hose them off, with a hose, tell them to go back to your rooms and be done with it.
But that's right. And today, obviously, I didn't have cell phones in high school. Thank God, because
thank Lord.
But this is the equivalent of as growing up as kids, where going behind the football bleachers, with Betty Sue and getting an education on anatomy.
Yeah,
I mean that's the same thing.
You got to do extra credit. Understand?
And granted, it's in your memory bank, but it's not in your phone forever.
Sure.
But kids are doing this. I mean, I wonder how many potential sex offenders will beef up on the registry.
Well,
because
remember, so if we're gonna legalize marijuana, now we can start filling them up with the child molesters.
I just wonder where common sense was lost in judicial prudence, man.
I totally agree. I mean, that's going way beyond what it should be.
I mean,
should be happening.
Let's just say that 300,000 kids a year get put on the sex offender list because of this. And how many kids we have in America? 120 million or something like that. That's a lot of sex offenders in communities.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's ruining a lot of lives.
Yeah.
So
it really is.
Just another thing of I just don't. I think sometimes when the government tries to solve a problem, they go a little overboard.
You think?
So and this is a prime example with with the prison industry or this industry with kids. It's just now if it's a consenting an adult that's doing it, absolutely
totally
nail them to the wall.
You.
But for kids, we can all step back and remember when we were kids. We did some pretty stupid stuff.
Right.
So kids are going to be stupid, and kids are going to be kids. So I hate to see my friend's kid get wrapped up in something like this. It could potentially affect the rest of his life.
Sure.
So
that's nuts.
Yeah, it's completely idiotic. It's way overboard. I mean, beat his butt, call it a day.
Yeah.
And they're both the same age. They both knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
If anything, and I'm not trying to say they should get charged, but she should get charged with the same thing.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? If she sent it first, she initiated it.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Why is he getting a heavier charge? It's uneven playing field, as you would say.
Yeah.
But also, think of how many girls may actually instigate that. I'm not saying I'm a proud father of 2 daughters, but I know sometimes girls chasing after a boy can do that. They'll send a picture of themselves in a provocative pose.
Yeah.
What if that kid didn't ask for it, but he opened his phone to that picture because he saw a text from her. All of a sudden, he's in possession.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like we're just throwing out common sense and chain of custody all in one boot just because of probably some mother's group.
Yeah.
Didn't have enough time campaigning about banning guns, so they had to get onto this bandwagon.
So that's an actual law that's going on that's already been passed.
Oh man,
and
look, you can research here locally, Cox Mill High School. I think they just arrested 6 or 7 kids. There's several football team members who got arrested for
cow.
Basically a girl in the high school sent a picture to a guy. The guy saved it and forwarded to a couple of his friends. Well, all those friends got popped for possession of child porn.
Holy cow!
With the children themselves. That's what's boggling with the children themselves.
Yeah,
that's what's boggling my mind. I mean,
yeah. God.
So this is where we jump the shark sometimes. You know what I'm saying? This is just it's mind-boggling and scary at the same time. Yeah.
No, I totally agree.
I just tell my wife, if you're going to send me nudies, send it to my private account.
Yeah.
Of course, she's not a kid either, but
well, the other thing then comes to my mind is what's actually on Clinton's email then server. Server then. What would somebody send her?
Just think about this. Today or yesterday, breaking news: Israel covertly recovered 55,000 files from Tehran, Iran, about their nuclear program. We now know more about Tehran's or Iran's nuclear program than we do Hillary Clinton's emails. just think on that or chew on that for a minute. And just think that we actually know more about a secretive nuclear program of a foreign country versus a potential presidential candidate who lost.
All right.
Anyway.
Well, there's the show. All right. So thanks for tuning in for the Southern Fried Philosophy podcast. Next week, we have Leanne Powell from Southern Grace Distilleries, and she is going to be bringing some conviction bourbon for us.
She better.
So I'm looking forward to that. And Brandon, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, you can find us out on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher. Please go there, subscribe. Also, give us a review. That's how we move up on the podcast algorithm. Also, go to our Facebook at Southern Fried Philosophy, Southern Fried Philosophy, our website at southernfriedphilosophy.com, Instagram and Twitter's at SFP Radio, and finally our youtube.com/SFP Radio.
And as always, keep it rolling.